Welcome to this edition of Artist Talk. We are joined today by our newest guest, Gabbie McGee. We just saw a fantastic set and we had a chance to watch her mingle with the crowd. Now, you have a very warm rapport with people, and that seems to be an important part of your music too. So what's it like for you to be playing live and have people come out to support you?
It's an awesome feeling. I'm really pleased each time I see people, first of all, sitting in the audience when the show is ready to start. And it pleases me even more to see familiar faces, people who I've seen at past performances, come back to support me again and again. It means the world to me.
Now, where have you been playing and where are you off to after this set?
Well, I'm all over the city, a lot of jazz venues and soul, because they're classifying my music as soul jazz. It's that new, got to put a name on everything. So you can catch me at the 5 spot on the 26th of July. And on September the 2nd, I'm doing a really great show with some really great women. We've joined forces as independent artists, and we're calling ourselves Collective Shades of Sound. And we're doing a really big show for Labor Day at the Red Shoe in Decatur.
Well, we'll definitely be there to catch that. Now, as a young musician, something that you just said struck me, where they're trying to classify your music as jazz, soul. Now, when you sing your music, do you feel any labels go on to it, or is it at some point as a musician that you're just singing?
Yeah.
So what kind of frustration is there as a musician when somebody's trying to classify your music?
It's a little frustrating, but I don't really mind it as much, because as an independent artist, I just want people to have my name in their mouth and be talking about me and, spreading the word about my music. So it really doesn't matter what they call it to me. But I know personally, for me, it's a fusion of a lot of different things. I'm from the Mississippi Delta, and my father's a blues musician. And I grew up in the church. I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. So I also sing at church, praise and worship. So you can find elements of everything from country to blues to jazz to soul. It's all over my music, sprinkled here and there. So,
And what are some of the vocalists, who are some of the vocalists that have inspired you to take your music in the direction you're going now?
Man, this is what I love to talk about. I'm a huge Nina Simone fan. I really love her. I love her penmanship. I love her approach to music. And she was kind of one of those artists that, one day she may sing a folk song, tomorrow she may sing jazz, the next day she may sing a country tune, and she was a classically trained pianist, So there were so many different elements to her music. I also love Ella Fitzgerald. I'm a huge fan of Liz Wright. We met a couple of years ago when I first moved to Atlanta, and she was just, stepping into her career and traveling the world. And so, just so many different women. And also men, B.B. King, I'm a big fan. Stevie Wonder. Sting, I love a lot of people, and Duke Ellington, Thelonious Monk. I can go on and on and on.
Fantastic. So you've got a rich history of music in your blood. Is that something that you had in your family? Is that something you were into? Obviously, your father being a bluesman.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you listen to growing up?
Well, it's weird because my dad was a blues musician and my mom was a little church choir lady. And so it was kind of like a mixture of, the good and the bad in one household. It was kind of like you could hear my grandmother calling, "You should have never married that sinner man." And, so I would listen to everything, of course, a lot of the blues greats, Muddy Waters and Millie Jackson and Denise LaSalle and, Johnny Taylor. And so we would listen to all of those things. But then when I would be with my mother and go over to my grandparents' house, they were strict Christians. So I would be listening to Mahalia Jackson and, a lot of the gospel quartets my grandfather's a big fan of. And my great-grandfather actually had a gospel group called the Grace Special in Mississippi. And so it's just like a mixture of different musics and, from one side of the family to the other.
What was it like growing up in a household that's divided between gospel and blues?
It was weird because when my grandparents paid for my piano lessons, I play keys, and my grandparents wouldn't pay for it unless I was only restricted to playing gospel music. So there were times when I would, practice at my grandmother's house and I'd, play a little something else and she'd be like, no, none of that blues music in this house, So it was really difficult, but I thank God for that because it helped me to become a balanced musician.
And when you say you're a balanced musician, what does that mean to you?
It means that, I mean, there are no borders to me, as far as what I'm willing to do vocally. It means that I might decide to sing a country song, or I might decide to, sing something a little bit more mainstream. I don't like the fact that, people try to box musicians in and they only expect you to want to do one thing. I'd love to do a musical. So there are just so many different elements to me, and they weigh heavily on each side of me, so it helps me to stay firmly planted in the middle.
So when you were growing up and growing into yourself as a musician, when you think back to that and know what you know now, what advice would you give to young musicians, kids that are finding their love for music and they're not sure where to go with it? What advice would you give them into growing into their musicianship?
This is going to sound really cliche, but follow your heart. Follow your heart. Do what God has placed in you to do, because I guarantee there is something He's going to use from what you're doing to help someone else. And that's the thing. Everybody's not going to be able to be Kirk Franklin. Everybody's not going to be able to be, Yolanda Adams if they want to spread a positive message. You may look weird and you may sing different songs, but your songs, if they're pure and they're from the heart, they'll touch people right where they are. They'll bring them into where they need to be instead of, trying to convince them to come this way. It'll touch them right where they are.
So where's your heart taking you now?
Wow, I'm actually going to do a jazz album. I've fallen in love lately with a lot of the great classics of Nina Simone, a lot of her jazzier music, and I just recently gave birth to twins. So, thank you. So I was playing a lot of her music while I was going through that process, and it kind of inspired me to want to, step into the jazzy side and do something a little bit more jazzy and see how that works.
Well, fantastic. I mean, just in our brief conversation with you, there are plenty more stories to get into, and we look forward to having you come back. But in the meantime, where can we find information? Where can our listeners find information about you and your music, and where are you going to be playing?
I'm all over the web. I have digital distribution, so you can find me at any of your finer digital downloading places, iTunes, MP3 Tunes. You can search me. You can Google me. I have a MySpace. It's Gabbie Music, Gabbie Music, Music. You can just find me all over the web, and if you search Gabbie McGee, you'll find some place to find me.
Fantastic. Well, we wish you all the best with your career, and we look forward to talking with you again and getting into some of these other stories that we just had time to scratch the surface on. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to bestofAtlantaConcerts.com, and for more information on the best music live in Atlanta, check us out and have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.